Live na, Gods?
Yeah. Oh, yan. Live na.
Okay. Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone, and good afternoon here in Abu Dhabi. How are you, Marvin and Gladys? Admin
Hi, Sir
Gladys.
Jeff. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening, Sir Jeff. Good afternoon, Middle East.
So you don't have camera on.
Yeah, sorry. Unless I'll be disconnected again.
Okay,
Sorry
so
for
yeah,
that.
let's welcome everyone to our participants here in Zoom and to our Facebook live viewers. So yeah, good evening. We have another session with Brainy Bryan of with Brainy Bryan. Yes, it's fine. Okay. Okay, let's welcome our speaker for today, and none other than Brainy Bryan. So guys, please don't forget to hashtag Brainy Bryan 9.0. So let's start the trend and let's bring, without further ado, Sir Brian coming in.
Hi, hello guys, and welcome to this episode of this is actually like the third time that I'm coming in, if I'm not mistaken, doing a class, or no, a fourth time already. And today we have a very special class because it's not really a class. We are going to actually deal with and talk about the writing task one component of the IELTS. So today in this session, we are going to do on the spot writing task one samples for both writing task one academic and also general training. So if you're excited for that, then do give me a like or something on Facebook. All right, but before I get started, I would want to share with you our online platform at 9.09 or IELTS Review and Tutorial Center where I work. I would just want to show you our dashboard. So if you go to our website, this is what you're going to see. And I have my login credentials here because I'm an admin, of course. And when I sign in, I'm able to see so many different courses. We have a total of 11 courses right now that you can avail through the buy one take 10 promo that we are offering here at 9.09er. So these are just some of those different courses that you can take when you enroll at 9.09er. And I would like to put emphasis and attention onto the IELTS Unlimited Review Package, where you're going to be able to see more of me writing on the spot by just visiting our writing program right here. Okay, so as you can see, we have different lessons here. We have different courses. We have plenty of them. And I have here the writing program by Sir Brian, where you're going to be able to see me writing on the spot the different types of charts, because I assume for today we will not be able to talk about literally all of the charts. Of course, we're going to just probably be doing one for academic and one for general training. But if you want to learn how to write for line graphs, bar charts, pie charts, tables, processes, and also see the handouts where I have all of the compiled versions of my samples, you can actually enroll and get access to all of these materials on your dashboard. Okay, so that's fun, right? That's on top of the fact that when you write your samples by yourself, you can also be able to have them marked by having one-on-one tutorials with our coaches. Okay, so without further ado, welcome everyone, and thank you for attending this session. Please share this session with your friends. If you have friends who also would want to take the IELTS and would want a free session on writing task one, this is going to be tremendously helpful in their preparation for the examination. I'm quite nervous, because I'll be writing live. Okay, so again, please share this with your friends and your family who are also going to take the IELTS or any English examination for that matter. And yeah, okay, I'm just going to do a quick overview of what to expect when we're dealing with writing task one and writing task two. I'm sorry, writing task one only for academic and general training for IELTS. And then later, I'll ask the admin to flash their selected sample, and we're going to write impromptu. There's absolutely no preparation involved here. I don't know what the questions are and how they're going to turn out. but I'm hoping that you guys will be helping me in developing a sample for writing task one academic and general training later. Okay, so let's talk about Ielts writing task one, because Ielts writing is divided into a couple of components. We have Ielts writing task one and we have Ielts writing task two. Writing task one will differ depending on your module. So when you're taking the academic module, you will be taking a different examination from those who are taking the general training module. Whereas when you're taking writing task two, it's the same regardless of your module. Now, for academic test takers, it's going to be a statistical report writing test or a process writing test in which you're going to be provided charts or figures like line graphs or bar charts or pie charts or tables, or even processes like how things work, or a manufacturing process perhaps, or a map. Although honestly in IELTS you get more of the statics, like the ones with numbers. Statistical figures are more common in IELTS compared to the processes. So if I have a piece of advice for you guys, I want you to master your different types of charts before you jump into your processes, because processes are very rare in the examination. In fact, probably around 80% or 90% of the time, what comes out in your examination is a chart. It can be a line graph or a bar or a pie or table, but it will be a chart. There's a greater propensity for you to receive a task that contains numerical information compared to a process, okay? And for writing task one general training, it's a little bit different. You're not going to be interpreting or describing charts or figures. Instead, you will be given a situation and you will have to write a letter to address the situation. You will be given bullet questions or bullet points to respond to, and you will be given a total of 3 of them. You have to make sure that you respond to each one of the 3 bullets in your examination to get a pretty good score in your IELTS writing task one. You have to write a minimum of 150 words for IELTS writing task one within the span of 20 minutes on average. But actually in the examination, you have 1 full hour. You can budget your time between writing task one and writing task two. If you want to do task two first, then move on to task one, spend 30 minutes for task two and 30 minutes for task one, that's fine. You have 1 hour to budget between the 2 exams. You're in full control of your time. But we recommend that you spend only 40 minutes for writing task two and only 20 minutes for writing task one to ensure that you're able to accomplish both exams. Because many people would say that writing task one is not important, but it's actually very important since it's going to accrue 1/3 or 33.33% of your total test score in the IELTS. And this is actually a fact, most examiners actually attribute failure in IELTS writing to writing task one. It's because many candidates can get a 7 in writing task two, but their writing task one is so poor that they get a lower score in writing task one, pulling down the total average score. Remember, your grades in writing are rounded down, not rounded up. So if you get 6 point something and it's not 7 flat, then that's not a 7.0, but maybe a 6.5 or a 6, whichever it is closer to when rounded down. So remember, writing task one, although it's going to only share 33.33% of your test score, is actually a very important examination. Right. Now, I have discussed this already previously, but I would also discuss this right now, just for everybody to understand what I'm going to talk about. Writing tasks, I'm sorry, how you're going to be graded in your examination. That's very important because I think a lot of people are blindsided when they're taking the examination. They don't know what they're going to do. They don't know how they're going to be graded. They don't know how to attack the examination. Perhaps because they don't have a clue about what the examiners are going to look for. And to give you information on what the examiners will look for, we need to go back to the criteria for grading for IELTS. And there are 4 criteria for IELTS writing task one. We have task attainment, coherence and cohesion, vocabulary and lexical resource, and grammar. I think in my previous class when I wrote my IELTS writing task 2 on the spot, and you can watch that on IFNG as well. It's recorded, and also on the YouTube channel of IFNG. You can watch that video. I explained thoroughly what these criteria are, and I would want to discuss this a little bit more today in the context of writing task 1. So let's talk about task attainment. So perhaps you know already that it's about writing the correct number of words. So writing at least 150 words will be very important in your examination, making sure that you have all the parts. And for IELTS writing task 1 academic, you have 3 parts only: the introduction, the overview, and the specific details portion. So you do not actually require a conclusion, although you can put your overview in the conclusion part if you want. That's all up to you. As long as you have the 3 parts, that's all that matters in the examination. You have to make sure you follow the instructions. And for IELTS writing task 1 academic, that will be to select and report the main features and make relevant comparisons, or make comparisons when required. Okay. Now for general training, it's about you being able to answer all of the bullet questions. Of course, writing still 150 words, but responding to all of the bullet points that you have in your examination. And I would really suggest that you build on them, that you elaborate them, that you try to write specific information or details that will help you to really prove to the examiner that you didn't just write a single sentence, or you didn't just write a very simple response to the bullets, but you elaborated them fully, you expanded them, and you extended them as much as you can. And that effort is going to be rewarded in your examination. Be as specific as possible. Make the letter look as if it's a very realistic letter that you will be addressing to a real person, and not just any kind of generic letter that you'll be submitting to anyone. Okay, apart from that, you'll be graded for your coherence and cohesion. And when we deal with coherence and cohesion, we are actually talking about your organization and your paragraphing, plus your cohesion, which means to say how your sentences and your paragraphs are linked to each other. So when we talk about coherence, it's about your paragraphing. Write around 4 paragraphs minimum to a maximum of 5 paragraphs. And some people would be asking, sir, why 4? Why 5? I mean, I just need 3 parts for academic writing task 1. How on earth am I going to make that 4? Well, when you think of writing your body, don't just put everything and chunk everything into 1 paragraph. I would really suggest that you split your paragraph into maybe a couple of paragraphs, or sometimes you can also write 3 paragraphs. That's also possible in your examination. So make sure that you don't just write a single body paragraph. That's going to help you to make your writing look more organized and make your writing look as if you exerted effort in trying to lay out everything correctly. Okay, so apart from that, you need to make use of transitional signals or transitional devices to link your sentences and your paragraphs together. Although to some extent, you can't actually use the ones that you'll be using for writing task 2 because they're argumentative. So for example, when you have moreover or furthermore, that is more aptly used for writing task 2 compared to writing task 1. It is more appropriate for IELTS writing task 2 compared to IELTS writing task 1. So when you're using transitional words for writing task or transitional devices for writing task 1, try to make use of those that you do not want to use for writing task 2. For example, meanwhile or overall, or maybe you can write something else, but don't use the same ones that you would be using in your IELTS writing task 2, right? Because it's different. The genre for writing task is so different. For IELTS writing task 1, it's supposed to be statistical report writing or a letter, whereas in writing task 2, it's an argumentative essay. So there's a difference. Of course, you wouldn't really want to use furthermore, moreover, or on the other hand, for IELTS writing task 1. There is a certain set of transitional signals or signpost words that you can use for writing task 1. Okay. Now, after that, we have your vocabulary. And this is actually the part where it gets a little tricky, especially for academic test takers. For general training test takers, not so tricky because it's pretty much the same as what you can use for writing task 2, no problem with that. But when you're doing writing task 1, it's a little bit different in that you have to use only academic words because the genre or the style of writing in writing task 1 is actually very professional, very academic, and very formal. So you aren't expected to use, for example, idiomatic expressions. They are not appropriate. So you wouldn't be writing something like, there was a significant drop in the figures in the first year of the study. However, there was a silver lining in the succeeding year. I mean, what silver lining are we talking about here? This is not the pageant, okay? So you're not supposed to be using those kinds of expressions when you're writing because it's just not appropriate for an academic report, okay? Now, grammar, this is the last one that I'm going to discuss, talks about the accuracy and range of your grammatical structures. So insofar as you want to make sure all of your sentences are accurate, you also want to similarly make sure that you have a good range of sentence construction patterns that are sometimes complex or simple, so that there is a little bit of variety in your examination or some dimension in the way you write. And this is going to help you to increase your test score. All in all, that will be 100% of your grade for writing task 1 and 33.33% of your total score for IELTS writing in total. So each one of the components will share 25% of your score. It's very important that you know how to compensate. So say, for example, you're not so good in one aspect, then you might want to improve the other aspects so that you can compensate for those that you're not good at. Okay. Right. Now, I do have a few questions that I would want to answer. And please, if you have questions, drop me a line or two. Send me a message over Facebook or over Messenger. I will try to respond to your concerns in the best way I can. Okay. Is it true, Sir Brian, that if you reach the minimum number of words, you're going to automatically get 6 regardless of the content? No, that is not true, because you can just write the lyrics of a song and reach the minimum number of words, but that's not going to help you to get a good score. In fact, there are some people who are able to complete the correct number of words, but they still end up with a 5.0 or 4.5 in the IELTS. And this is absolutely true. I've seen some people with a 5.0 with an absolutely complete report and still getting a very poor score. Writing is actually very terrible. It's very hard to pass the writing examination. If you're looking towards getting a 7.0, if you're planning to get a 7.0 in the examination, this is going to be your primary predicament or impediment towards your success. Okay. Abigail has a question, and she's asking, is there a particular transitional device that can be utilized only for writing task 1, aside from the connective devices that can be used for writing task 2? Interesting question. Well, I would say that, you know, there are plenty of transitional devices that are solely used for writing task 1. So for example, if you write something like in detail, you wouldn't be writing that in an argumentative essay. Or overall, although you can write that as well in your essay as a conclusion, a conclusive device just to conclude your essay, it's not a very typical transitional device that you will be using. It's mostly used for writing task 1 when you're writing your overview. Or what else? Yeah, by comparison or in comparison. If you're writing that transitional device, you would not definitely be comparing anything in writing task 2 to that effect. So I think that's more uniquely used for writing task 1. Okay. But you know, I can't discuss everything today. Usually in my writing program, I discuss just about everything and anything that you want to know about writing and executing the writing task for writing task 1. including all of those transitional devices that you can use. But I don't really have the liberty of time to discuss everything because the writing program that I do in our center takes 3 days. Yes, you heard me right. 3 days straight because it's that intensive and you really need to know a lot. But this is a sampler. It's better than nothing, right? And it's free. So that's the fun part. Okay. So here is another question from Hans. Hans is asking, is there a difference in the writing format for the computer delivered exam? Basically, there shouldn't be any difference because your markers would not be checking your paper differently just because it's a computer delivered exam. Probably the only advantage of the computer delivered examination is it's more manageable and it's easier to edit. But when it comes to grading, you don't really get any like advantage, and they're going to be graded in the same fashion as the as the paper-based exam. So computer delivered and paper-based exams should follow the same format. So however, I'm going to discuss the sample that's provided for me today, that's actually exactly how it is going to go regardless of whatever modality of the examination you're going to take. Okay, whether it's academic or general training, computer delivered or paper based, how I'm going to discuss things today will work, right? Okay, so do we have any other questions? I'm looking at the message box. Okay. All right. So not a lot of questions from you guys. Okay. So I guess that's it for my discussion for IELTS writing task 1. It's time for us to actually deal with the writing tasks because that's what you came here for in the first place, right? Okay, so that's the reason that you're here. Okay, so are you ready to start writing? I'm expecting that you guys will be participating because I can't do this by myself, right? I need your inputs because I'm not the one taking the examination, it's you. All right, so if you're ready, just give me a like or two, maybe a heart or whatnot, right? Just to encourage me, give me some uh encouragement and motivation, that drive to work on the sample that will be provided today. All right. Okay. So guys, all right, there are 263 FB live viewers and 40 Zoom participants for this session. And keep on sharing this video and this live session with your friends so that they will also learn from this session. Okay. So I will now, at this point, yeah, so most of you are still giving me likes. Thank you so much. I'm going to be doing everything through Microsoft Word. So what I'm going to do is just to flash my MS Word application. But I need the task prompts. So I will ask the admin to share with me the task prompts for this session. Okay, so admin, can you share to our audience our writing task 1 sample? Sorry, our writing task 1 question. I'm sorry. Right, so we have here a question for writing task 1 academic. Okay, so guys, you can see this. And I'm also probably going to take a snapshot of this one. Just give me a sec, guys, as I take a snapshot of this one, all right? I'm going to transfer that over to my device. And just give me a few seconds to work on this sample. Okay, just resize and everything. Just give me a moment. Okay, so this is a set of pie charts. We have plenty of pie charts. I love pie charts. When I took the examination, I received pie charts, but I didn't receive 3 pie charts. I actually got 9. No, not 9 as a score. Well, I did get 9.0, but I received 9 pie charts. No, right? Very unlucky. Okay, all right. So just give me a moment as I fix this for the audience. Okay. Right. Okay. This is a relatively complicated chart because typically you just have one chart. This one has 3 charts. So it's a little bit more difficult than the typical types of writing tasks that you'll get in the Ielts. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. Oh, I do have a few questions first that I would like to address from the audience before we get started with the writing process. Okay, so Jupiter's saying, I passed the interview last 2 weeks with my Canadian employer. I don't know about IELTS. This is my first time. Okay. And Joseph is saying, general or acad po yung sample or common po sa dalawa? This is actually for academic. I guess we are going to be working on another one, which is for the general training module. So you probably need to wait a bit because we are going to also have a session for that. Okay, so I have already copied the question, and here is our question. All right. The charts below show the average percentages in typical meals of 3 types of nutrients, all of which may be unhealthy if eaten too much. All right. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so write at least 150 words, and we have here the title. It says average percentages of sodium, saturated fats, and added sugars in typical meals consumed in the USA. So we have here sodium. I'm not sure if you can see this clearly. Hopefully you can. Let me just zoom this in so that you can see more clearly. So we have sodium right here. We have saturated fat, and we also have added sugar, right? And these are meal times, okay? Breakfast, dinner, lunch, and snacks. Okay, right. So I'm going to be, explaining to you the process by which we write, okay? So if you're writing for IELTS, typically what you want to do is to ensure that you have a good outline first, okay? So before you write anything, you have to make sure that you have a decent outline or a decent plan, because if you don't have a plan, then usually you will not be able to write effectively. So we are dealing here with a very complicated pie chart with some similarities, okay, right? So we have sodium here, we have saturated fat, we have added sugars, but there's something in common. These are meal times, okay, because these are typical meals, average percentages in typical meals of the 3 types of nutrients, okay, which may be unhealthy. Okay, now there are 2 ways by which you can approach your pie chart, this particular set of pie charts. Typically, when you're working on pie charts, you have to rank them in order from highest to lowest, from the most significant figures to the least significant figures. And right now, what we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out which approach is better for our sample. Okay, so you can do this by meals. Okay, so for example, for breakfast, you can mention which one is the highest and which one's the lowest. For lunch, you can mention which one's the highest and the lowest. Dinner, same, and then snacks, the same. You can actually do that in your examination, but that will actually entail writing 4 different, not sentences, but discussions, which can be a little bit complicated, as opposed to when you have only 3. What you can do here is you talk about sodium and when sodium is mostly consumed. Okay, so you can actually talk about the greatest percentage or the highest proportion of sodium consumed, which is during dinner time, and which how much is consumed during lunch time, and then least for breakfast and snacks. Okay, so you can do that one chart at a time, and I actually prefer that approach because that's much easier. Okay, so Joyce Brand saying, idol ko to, napakagaling. Di naman. Okay, I would have to say that it's all about practice. It's about how trained you are in taking the exam, and not really how naturally skilled you are, because everybody can learn how to be great. Okay, so let's do this, right? Let's start with sodium. Okay, so I'm gonna type right here, sodium. All right, it's not too big, so I'm gonna make it bigger. All right, so let's start with sodium. Okay, so if you look at the chart for sodium right here. Okay, so let me just make this a little smaller. All right, so if you look at the chart for sodium, okay, you would see that the greatest amount of sodium consumed is when? Can you tell me when? When is the consumption of sodium from typical meals the highest? It's the highest during what? Right? Okay, dinner. Right. So yeah, so let's put that here. Dinner. Can we make this okay, there we go. Just a moment, guys, napadami yung spaces ko eh. Right, napadami yung space. All right, so there. Sodium. Okay, so dinner. So what is the percentage for dinner? Do you need to write everything? No, not really, but in this case we have 43% for dinner, right? And then 29% for lunch. Okay, so lunch, 29%. You would also be able to see that identical figures can be noted for both snacks and breakfast. So let's put that, snacks, breakfast, that's both at 14%. Okay, now that's for sodium. Let's move on to another one. That's the next one, which is saturated fat. Saturated fat is another unhealthy, what do we call this one, right? Okay, nutrient. Right, it's an unhealthy nutrient. Okay, so we can see the dinner is also still taking the largest percentage at 37%. So let's put that right there. Dinner, 37%. It's a similar trend, right? We can see a similar trend. Then it's lunch at 26%. Lunch, 26%. And then we can actually do a little bit of clustering. We can cluster lunch and snacks because they're both at the 20s level. So we can actually write snacks as well here. I'm going to show you how we can write that later. 26 and 21%. Okay. And then the least is 16% for breakfast. Okay. Breakfast, 16%. I also want you to use your brain, guys. So please, okay, try to also give me your answers. Okay, whenever I ask, I might not see your answers, but at least you're using your brain, right? That's the most important thing. Okay, so you have to make use of your brain. Hello, right? That's why you're here. I'm not the one who's going to write during your test. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. We have added sugar. All right, this is an outline, no? Added sugar, right? So additional sugar. We are going to we can see a different trend here in which snacks takes the lead here, right? Snacks. Okay, so we have 42% for this category. Sorry, dollars. Oh my gosh, right? So let's move on to the next one. We have here 23% for dinner, right? So dinner. Okay, this is what's the 23%? 23%. And least, we have 16 and 19. We can cluster them together as well. All right, so that's one that we can cluster. So 19% and 16%, we can just put them like in a category of less than 20%. Okay, so less than 20%. Okay, each for lunch and breakfast. Is that in order or no? Yeah, in order. Okay, lunch and breakfast less than 20%. Now, one thing that you should also understand whenever you're writing for pie charts is that there are instances when you can actually use a different word, or you can use maybe a word instead of a percentage. So in here, we have, for example, 43%. You can actually say almost half, right? Okay, so almost half of the sodium what's this? Sodium consumption of people, right? Okay, so you can actually do that because we're talking about the average percentages of sodium, saturated fats, and added sugars that people consume in typical meals in the USA. And we can actually say that almost half of the sodium consumption of people was in are sorry or is during dinner time. Okay, so you can do that. So if you have, for example, 37% right here, you can actually say more than a third. Third is 33.33%, something like that. Okay, right. So there you go, right? You can actually say this is actually more than a fifth, because a fifth is 20%, or even you can actually say almost a quarter or nearly a quarter, right? Something like that, so that you will have a little bit of variety in your examination. It would not really sound as if you're repetitively using percentages in your test. Okay, so this is going to help you to have a little bit of variety in your writing. Okay, so what else? You have to compare, but you don't really have to compare everything. So you have to make relevant comparisons. So you can actually say that the pattern for sodium and saturated fat are actually identical or similar. You know, they follow a similar pattern, okay, or similar trend. Whereas this is actually not really an opposite trend, but you know, a different, okay, different trend. Okay, all right. Now, another question that you, what's your answer, IFNG members? Okay, so another thing that you have to consider would be the tense that you're going to use in your report. And in this case, because these are all averages, we don't have time elements here. Typically in the line graph, you have time elements and you can actually write the changes in numbers and proportions across time. In this case, we do not have dates or timestamps. So we would have to stick with the present tense. Okay, so there you go. Right, so I would like to now talk about, okay, how we are going to structure our report. So you just have to write an introduction, and then after that you have to write your overview. And here at Niner, we usually prefer writing the overview after the introduction, and then you will be writing your specific details or your body, at least a couple of paragraphs. And in this case, because we have three, you know, sodium, saturated fat, and added sugar, I would probably want to write 3 paragraphs in my body. So that's a total of 5 paragraphs, one for the intro, one for the overview, and one for the specific details or the body. There's something that we haven't planned yet. Okay, so overview. All right, so let's plan our overview. So what do we write in our overview? What do you think is most striking here? When you look at the 3 charts right here, let me just make this a little smaller so you can see. What is the most striking feature of the charts here? What can you notice about the consumption of unhealthy nutrients? All right, okay. So the greatest proportion or the greatest percentage of consumption of unhealthy nutrients, okay, is contributed by dinner, right? Yes, high, right? Okay, highest consumption, right? So we can write that. Highest consumption rate, no? Rate of consumption of unhealthy nutrients is observed during dinner time. Okay? Or at dinner time. Okay? Meanwhile, okay, what can you observe? What else? What else apart from that? With the exception of added sugars. Okay? Added sugars. Okay? Which is highest during in snacks. Okay. Right. Greatest proportion of unhealthy nutrients are consumed in dinner. Okay, that's good. Breakfast noted to have the lowest rate of consumption of unhealthy nutrients. Is it true for everything? Yeah, 16%, 16%, 14, relatively low. So we can actually write something like that as well. So the least amount of, not really amount, but least percentage, right? Percentage. We can't really tell what the amount is. Percentage of unhealthy nutrients, okay, is consumed in breakfast now. Okay. All right. Breakfast is the least among the three. Okay, so there we are. I'm going to, of course, polish that later. I'm just interested to know what you're going to write in your overview. I'm of course going to polish this outline when we start the writing. Okay, so anything else that's missing? The comparisons are here. Okay, so these are also identical, right? So we can put that as a comparison as well. So this is a very good outline. And yeah, it might take some time, for the great majority, they might not have time for this and they might actually feel that it's just a waste of time. But I'm going to show you later that it's not. And it actually helps you to write much better and in much more quickly in the examination. Okay, all right, ready guys? Okay, so I hope everyone is ready to see how this is going to unfold. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so this is my writing task 1 sample. Please check the time as well because I want to make sure that I finish this in less than 20 minutes. And assuming that I spent around 5 minutes working on the outline, then I should be working on this for right about 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, right, ready? Okay, let's get started. When you're writing the introduction in your examination, the best way to write the introduction is to just paraphrase the task description. So the charts, you can actually change that. Ooh, my computer is crashing. Just a moment. Oh, there we go. So the chart, you can actually change that into the pie charts. Okay, and then it says show. So I'm going to change that into something like provides information. And then I have here the average percentages. Okay, so you can actually copy that. The average rate. Okay, maybe rate would be a better word. Okay, rates. Whoa, where is it? Okay, the average rates of consumption, right? Okay, or consumption rates. I'm going to change that later. Average percentages in typical meals of 3 types of nutrients, all of which may be unhealthy if eaten too much. Okay, so right, so average consumption rates, consumption rates of 3 different unhealthy nutrients. Okay, in the typical meals consumed or eaten by who are the ones who are eating. Let's put there in the USA. All right, so Americans. Okay, So now meals eaten in the USA, right? Okay, so there you go. We can actually also put another sentence right here. Okay, so we can actually indicate which particular, nutrient. So sodium, saturated fats, and added sugar. Okay, so you can write something like the data, compare the consumption, percentage of consumption of, what are the three? Sodium, saturated fats, and what's the other one? Added sugar. Oh, guys, did you take note of the time I started? Please, anyone, please post the time I started, because I want to know how many minutes I'm spending already. Did I start nine something, right? Okay, so let's just put 9:51 right here, 9:50, right? Okay, so let's just put that as our benchmark. Sorry, wasn't able to take note. Okay, 2 minutes, 9:48. Okay. Okay, right. So let's start. Pie charts provide, so sorry, this is a grammatical mistake. Information about, why is it not typing? The average consumption rates of 3 unhealthy nutrients in the typical meals eaten in typical meals eaten in the USA. All right. Okay, or by Americans. I know, maybe not all Americans, okay? Rates of 3 unhealthy nutrients in typical meals eaten in the USA. Data compare the percentage of consumption of sodium, saturated fats, and added sugar. Okay, that's good. Let's move on to the overview. And I'm just going to copy this because I'm a little bit forgetful. So I want to just put it right here. Overall, the highest rate of consumption of unhealthy or dinner meals or dinner has the highest average percentage or proportion of unhealthy nutrient consumption, with the exception of added sugars, which sugars, okay, which are consumed at a much greater rate during snacks. Okay. Meanwhile, or maybe I can write something else. Like, it is also clear that the meal with the least percentage of unhealthy nutrient consumption is breakfast. Okay, we're done. Okay, so now we're going to just jump into our body. Let's start with sodium first. So we can actually write that right here in detail. Okay, sodium consumption, or the amount of sodium consumed, the amount, not really amount, but percentage of sodium consumed at dinner time. Whoa, right, is observed to be the highest at almost half of the daily consumption, with almost half of the daily consumption at 43%, followed distantly by lunch at 29%. Okay. Meanwhile, identical figures can be noted for both snacks and breakfast, with 14% each. Okay, so we're done with the first one. Let's move on to the next one, saturated fats. Okay, all right, so let's move on. Okay, and right, similar pattern can be observed in the consumption of saturated fat, which is the highest or the greatest during dinner time at 37%. Right. lunch and snacks, okay, with sorry, maybe a moderate proportion can be seen during or is consumed during lunch and snacks. No, not during lunch and yeah, consumed during lunch and snacks. Okay, right, at 26%. So I'm gonna just polish this later. I'm right, 26% and 21% respectively. Whereas breakfast, okay, makes up the least at 16%. All right, finally, let's move on to the last one. All right, how many minutes do I still have left? Okay, anyone can monitor the time? Okay, so there you go. Right, so sorry, this is added sugar. Different, okay, it can be noted, observed, seen, okay. Meanwhile, or by contrast, or in contrast, or by comparison, okay, different trend can be observed, or conversely, maybe, you know, conversely, added sugar is ba or sugar lang? Sorry, added sugar lang. Okay, added sugar. Sorry, right? Follows a different trend in which snacks, in which it is consumed or eaten the most, consumed the most during snacks at 42%. Okay, followed then dinner at 23%. Okay. Okay. It can also be seen that the rates of consumption of added sugar are considerably lower during lunch and breakfast, both having figures below 20%. Woo! And we're done. My gosh. Right. So kinabahan ako doon ah. I got a little bit nervous, but we are finished with the entire report. Okay, so it felt like my real exam. It felt like an exam. Like, oh my gosh, right? Okay. Feels like a real test. Anyway, we are going to count the number of words and also check our grammar for the remainder of the time that we have. So we spent only 10 minutes, right, working on this, and then 15 minutes probably for the entire thing, including outlining. And then we're going to just do a very quick editing. So 8 minutes, yes, 8 minutes working on this. The pie charts provide information about the average consumption rates of 3 unhealthy nutrients in typical meals eaten in the USA. The data compare the percentage of consumption of sodium, saturated fats, and added sugar. Overall, dinner has the highest average proportion of unhealthy nutrient consumption with the exception of added sugar, okay, which is consumed at a much greater rate during snacks. It is also clear that the meal with the least percentage of unhealthy nutrient consumption is breakfast. In detail, the percentage of sodium consumed at dinner time is observed to be the highest, with almost, we need to put a comma there, half of the daily consumption at 43%, followed distantly by lunch at 29%. Meanwhile, identical figures can be noted for both snacks and breakfast with 14% each. A similar pattern can be observed in the consumption of saturated fat, which is the greatest during dinner time at 37%. A moderate proportion is consumed, we can just make this plural. Moderate proportions are consumed okay, during lunch and snacks at 26 and 21% respectively, whereas breakfast makes up the least at 16%. Conversely, added sugar follows a different, we can actually change conversely here, and just write added sugar. Maybe we can use, yeah, added sugar, right? Okay, follows a different trend, okay, right? In which it is consumed, okay, the most, or it is mostly consumed, right? During snacks at 42%, then dinner at 23%. I forgot the percentage sign. Can also be seen that the rates of consumption, why is there right here? The rates of consumption of added sugar are considerably lower during lunch and breakfast, both having figures below 20%. All right, and I forgot yung mga ano, nearly a quarter. So I'm gonna change that up, right? Uh, 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 then dinner with nearly, oh my gosh, it's not typing. Nearly, why? Yeah, there you go. My PC, a quarter. Oh my gosh, sorry guys. It's not me, it's the computer. Right, with nearly a quarter at 23%. I forgot those things, right? More than a third dinner saturated fat, so I can write that as well. Just a moment, my PC is crashing at the moment, so it's yeah, right, third, which is the greatest during dinner time, at over with over a third at 37%. Okay, so there you go. Can be observed in the consumption of saturated, a similar pattern can be observed in the consumption of saturated fat, which is the greatest during dinner time with over a third of the daily consumption average at 37%. Okay, so there you go. We're just trying to improve this. Then dinner with nearly a quarter, 23%. Okay, right. So there you go. And I'm going to just count the total number of words. I wrote 222 words. I'm done. And this is done in how many minutes, guys? It's 10:02. I started 9:48. So up to 10:02 p.m. Okay, so that is a total of 14 minutes. Yep. Okay, so there you go. Right, but the writing time, just around 8 minutes to 10 minutes, more or less. Okay, so how did you find this one? Okay, pretty easy, right? Very straightforward. Okay, writing time, I'm just going to put the writing time approximately 10 minutes. Okay, all right, so that's your writing task one sample. So to those people who are saying, oh my God, I can't do this, it's impossible for me to complete this in less than 20 minutes, here's actually a proof that it can be done in much less time, right? If you only plan carefully and you try your best to, outline everything that you're going to write, that's going to be much easier. Guys, if you do have any questions or concerns, you can post your questions on the message box and I'll try to respond to your questions in the best way I can. What do you think about this particular sample? Does it look good? I hope it does. All right, so I hope this is something that you like. Okay, right? Okay, so just give me a thumbs up or maybe a heart if you like this sample right here. Pahiram daw ng brain. Oh, if I can only do that, then I would have already been rich by now. But it's not really that. I think what helps you write better in the examination is preparation. It's not because even if you're a good writer, if you are pressed for time, you're taking an examination under time pressure. If you're not prepared, there's very little that you can do to really complete the task on time. So it's very, very important for you to make sure that you prepare or you practice before you take your exam. All right, so here is a question. From Bry. Sure, what if I finish the task early? Would it give the examinee added points? No, no, not really. You can probably get added points if you improve your writing with the remainder of the time that you have, like, with the rest of the time that you have. If you improve your writing, that's gonna help. But if you finish earlier, that's not gonna give you extra points, or not, it won't give you extra credits. Okay. So some comments from Facebook. Okay, so some people are saying it's very well written. Thank you so much for appreciating that. Natalia, however, asks, are we allowed to use a word repetitively in writing? That is a common question that I get. Okay, like, what do I use for the word consumption and consume, or what do I use for saturated fats or added sugar? Can I change that into sweets? Can I change that into cholesterol? Can I change this into salt? Well, there's a quick answer to that. You must exhaust all possible means of trying to change up words if possible. But if they are the main variables in the question, I do not suggest that you change them, because if you change them, there's a tendency for you to misinterpret them or misrepresent them in your exam. And what will happen to you is you're going to get a severe penalty for misrepresenting the information that's going to affect not only your vocabulary, but also your task attainment. So you're better off just using the words that you can find if they're the main variables in the study in the first place. You wouldn't want to change countries, right? Like if you have Canada or the US or Australia, you don't want to change them anymore, because they're the ones that are in there and there are no viable alternatives for them. In this case, consumption is actually already changed into eaten. All right, so there's very little that you can do with consumption, because it's like eat. Do you absorb it? Do you, like, is there anything else that you can think of that you can replace consumption with? So if you have exhausted all possible means to change the word up, and there's just nothing that you can use to change the word up, then you can just repeat it. Okay, now what you don't want to do is to redundantly use expressions. So for example, okay, you wrote something like it rose and increased. Okay, rose and increase are of the same category, the same meaning, so definitely you're going to get the mark down for that, because that is completely unnecessary. And you don't want to repeat the same word over and over again in the same sentence. Okay, that's what you want to try and avoid. Now, as a general rule, however, for Ielts, for you to get a good score, your range should offset the repetition. All right, so the range should offset the repetition. So you may repeat words, but you should still be able to present more words and the greater range of words compared to the ones that you have repeated. Now, for example, here, I've used consumption plenty of times, but that's probably just one out of the very few that I repeated here. But I have here provide information. I'm going to highlight them for your benefit. I have here average, okay? Average consumption rates of 3 unhealthy nutrients, okay? Right, eaten, okay? Right, and then I have here highest average proportion, okay? With the exception of, right? And then I have here much greater rate, okay? So there you go. I'm highlighting them, least percentage, okay? Sodium consumed at dinner time is observed to be the highest, almost half of the daily consumption, followed distantly. I have here identical figures. I also have here a similar pattern can be observed, right? Greatest during dinner time. Over a third of the daily average consumption, okay? Daily consumption average, right? Moderate proportions, okay? And makes up the least, right? Follows a different trend. Okay, nearly a quarter. Do you see my point? Because a lot of people will be very critical with repetitions, but you don't look at the bad side of things. That's just for people who are very critical of not just their writing, but other people as well. Examiners aren't supposed to be very critical. They're supposed to appreciate your writing more than be critical about the minor errors that you're committing. It's just like this. Most of the time we look at the negative things, but what we forget is that we have been able to show more positive things. Like in life, it's also the same. Like you do a lot of good things every day, and then you commit a mistake, and everybody pins you down for that mistake. IELTS does not, you know, discriminate you based on the simple errors that you make. IELTS is an examination that actually measures the range of vocabulary that you're able to show, the grammatical structures you're able to show, and whatever it is that the examiners can appreciate from the writing that you produce. That is the precise same reason that some people with not so good English actually get a good score in this test. Okay? Right. Thank you for that question, because I really wanted to clarify that. And sorry for the long answer, but I really wanted to answer that in the best possible way I can, because I think most people are being very critical about everything, like using this word or using this particular piece of vocabulary, using this sentence construction pattern, like repeating a word. Everyone's just being so critical about everything, whereas it should not be the case, because the purpose of IELTS is to communicate, not to impress the examiner, not to showcase the breadth of language that you have, but to communicate. If you're able to send the message across in a very clear and very concise fashion, then the examiners will actually appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Natalia has, sorry, that's the question of Natalia. John has a question. Is there a specific format or number of paragraphs for writing? I would say there's no specific format, because to say that there's a specific format is absolutely a fallacy. That if you don't follow this format, you're not going to get a good score. This is a recommended structure, but not necessarily the only way by which you can write in the test. Okay, there are plenty of other ways to do this. If you want to put the overview towards the end as a conclusion, just to wrap things up and to tie loose ends together, that's going to be okay. What matters is that you're able to have an introduction, an overview, and like details in your examination. That's all that matters. Examiners will be looking for that, right? Because these are the ones that are graded by your examiners. But there's no one size fits all approach. Okay, there's no like a single format that you can use for everything. People will have different interpretations of the task, and people will have a different way of writing. What matters is that the communication is clear. Okay, Chris is saying, I feel wiser thanks to you, sir. Oh, thank you as well. Umo has a question. How to do the outlining if you choose the computer-based exam? Well, there's a piece of paper that will be provided for you during the test, and you can write on that piece of paper that actually contains your candidate number and all the information about your test, like your login codes. But you can also use that to plan your essay and also plan your response for writing task 1. Okay, Roxanne, can you please post po uli ng pie? Sorry, for those people who did not see the illustration, I would like to show you what the illustration looks like. Oh, whoa. Just a moment. Let me just show you the chart. Can I change the layout? So this is the chart, guys. Sorry, it's too small. So let me just, sorry. So what do I do here? Yeah, so I need to make it like that. Okay, that's the task description. Thank you, Roxanne. Hello from Doha, Qatar. Strawberry Riza is saying, thank you so much. Okay. Screenshot down, very informative. Okay, thank you so much, right? I really appreciate you attending this class. Camille has a question. Sir, both writing task 1 and task 2 should be accomplished within an hour, or there will be a break? Oh yeah, that's a good question. There's no break between the exams. You need to accomplish both tests within the span of 1 hour. Yeah, 1 hour for writing task 1 and task 2 combined. I'm interested in Ielts class. Simranjeet, I'll be posting on Facebook our shop page and our Facebook page as well. If you're interested in our programs, you can visit our website and also our Facebook page. You can contact us through Facebook or our website. So let me just type the shop page and also the official Facebook page of Niner. You may type in your questions, guys. If you have any more questions about writing task one, especially for those who are taking the examination on for writing task one academic, you can ask your questions. And for those who are taking general training, we might have a separate discussion for that, right? If we have time right now. You should finish both task one and task two without a break. Okay. Sir, how do you call terms like more than a quarter, a fifth, so I can search and learn more? These are actually just expressions that you can use in place of like the percentages, right? So they're more of like the reporting terminology, how to, when you search online for how to write reports with percentages, usually you get to see those kinds of expressions. Okay. Daniela has a question. Hope you will have more free sessions for IELTS because this helps a lot. Oh, I'm very happy that you're able to benefit from this session. Thanks, Sir Bry, for teaching us how to write the task one. Best regards and God bless. Thank you as well for attending this session. And if you're having fun, you're learning from this session, please share this with your friends. And this is also going to be uploaded and recorded. So definitely you can watch this after this session if you want to do a refresher or something. Or if you're busy right now, you're doing something and you want to watch it later, you can actually do so. Okay, is it okay to combine the intro and the overview in the first paragraph? Yes. That is really possible in the examination. If you don't have much to write for the intro, you can write the overview right there as well. But here's a word of caution. If you have a very long overview, I would suggest that you don't. So for example, in this particular sample, I do not suggest that you write your overview alongside the intro, because if you do, try to look at this. If you do and combine that, your intro will be the longest paragraph in your entire composition, and it will just look very awkward. So if you don't have much to write and you want to attach your overview in your introduction, nobody's stopping you from doing so. But don't make it too ornate or too elaborate that your intro becomes the longest paragraph out of all of the paragraphs that you have written in your paper. Okay, good question. Right, thank you so much for this informative discussion. You're welcome. All right, okay. Ike has a question. Thank you for the very informative writing practice test. Oh yeah, thank you so much as well for attending. Arvin has a question. Good evening. I would like to ask about the conclusion paragraph. Is the second paragraph your conclusion? Because I usually see it at the end of the essay. Number one, a conclusion is not required in IELTS writing task one. Conclusions are required for writing task two because that is an essay. But for writing task one, you do not require a conclusion because there's no grade for a conclusion. Don't you know that? If you look at the band score descriptors, there's a score that you will get for an overview, but you will not get a score for a conclusion. Now, if you want to put this particular paragraph, the second paragraph, over to the end of your response, that is perfectly fine. That is a matter of preference. However, do not consider it a conclusion. A conclusion is something that will probably analyze information, interpret information, and draw conclusions based on the information. But in IELTS, we do not do that because we are just supposed to select and report the key features. In short, we are supposed to describe the figures as they are. We are not supposed to interpret. We are not supposed to analyze. We are not supposed to write opinions based on what we have read or what we have seen in the task description. So basically, conclusions are not required. Let's face it, guys, there are some things that end abruptly, okay? And they don't need conclusions. They don't need a sort of closure. When you know it's over, it's over. Like, it's done. Like, there's no need for a closure. You just know it's done. It's over. Like, everything is there already. Okay. Right. Do we need to write using indentation when we start the paragraph? No, that is not required, but you leave a space after every paragraph. Don't forget to leave a space after every paragraph. Okay, that's going to make sure that the examiner sees where you're ending a paragraph and when you're starting the next. Okay. All right, so some more. Good evening, sir. Oh, sorry. We have a lot of questions here. All right, thank you, sir, for this live webinar. I'm excited for your next topic. Okay, not sure if I'm going to be holding another one in the future. Maybe, you know, in like after a few months or so, I'll be doing one again. But I guess this is going to be my last topic before another lecture comes in to do the rest of the discussions with 9.09er. Thank you so much for enhancing my skills. Okay, right. So we have a question from Diane here, and Diane is saying, sir, is it not redundant? The expression is redundant to use nearly a quarter to 23%, or rather use only nearly a quarter. Do we need to put the exact amount? Actually, it's just a matter of preference. It's not redundant because they are not actually exactly the same, right? The figure is more specific, and the other one is an approximation. So an approximation and the exact detail are not exactly the same. If you want to just stick to almost half, that's already okay. You don't need to write the number. Okay, it's optional. It's a matter of preference, how you would want to write it. If you want to write the figure only without the approximation, that's fine. If you want to just put the approximation, that's fine. Nobody's going to hold you from or nobody's going to hold you back from doing so, and examiners will not mark you down for that. Okay, can we put these figures into brackets? Okay, yes, you can do that. However, I do not suggest that you do that so often. When we say brackets, are you talking about the parentheses? So, including like the figures 23% inside the pair of parentheses? That's possible, but I would want you to use it only once. Otherwise, it might look as if you're repeating the same thing over and over again. It will be like a one-trick pony spread 150 words thin. So it will look very repetitive, and the examiners might think that that's the only trick that you have. Maybe once in the entire report, and then the rest you will be using a different way of writing. Okay. You're welcome, Raman. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Good evening, sir. May I ask when you will have a discussion for writing task 2? We do have a discussion already for writing task 2. Just go to the live option here at IFNG, and you will see my free writing task 2 on the spot writing. So if you're interested to know how to write for IELTS writing task 2, you might want to watch that video as well. And it was done in the past, but it's still very relevant. Okay. AJ has a question. If I write, for example, the numerical value 43%, is it considered 2 words? No, 43% is just 1 word and, just 1 character. Just like how the computer will count it. If you highlight a particular percentage with the percentage sign, then it will just be 1 word. Okay, considered to be just a single word. Okay, Carlo is giving you the link to the on-the-spot IELTS writing task 2 video. You can watch that as well, right? So how did you find this session, guys? Was it enjoyable? Did you learn something? Was it beneficial? You'll learn more. This is just one type of chart. If you enroll at 9.09er IELTS Review and Tutorial Center, I'm going to be doing everything. Line graphs, bar graphs, pie charts, tables, flow charts, maps, illustrations, on how things work. Everything. I will cover everything during the lessons that we're going to have in the review center. So see you inside if you're interested to enroll. But of course, if you're not willing to enroll, we are not forcing you to enroll, but we are giving you insights and information that you will be able to use in your actual examination. Who knows, maybe you'll get a pie chart as well in your exam. So you will already know how to approach a pie chart because you have seen one done live. Okay, so Camille has a question. Sir, the conjugates. Is it considered when counting the words in the paragraph? Okay, so conjugations, are they considered? Are we like everything, I'm going to talk about everything. Everything that is written will be counted, whether it be an article, whether it be a conjunction, whether it be a preposition, like the small words like of or in or the articles, all of them are going to be part of your word count, my dear. Okay, so everything will be counted in the test. Okay, right. I hope you had fun. Okay. Admin, do we have writing task one general training as well?
Yes, sir. We will just ask.
Yes. Okay.
Ask her. And if
Yeah.
willing,
So I find she's so ready.
Ah,
Right. They're so
Glad.
ready. Okay.
Hi, Glad.
So
Yeah. Can we have that on next session?
can we have that in
our
the next
one,
session?
next
Do you have a next session for writing
Yeah.
task one general
So
training?
So we are not gonna rush.
Yes.
Okay, we can actually have another session for writing task one general training, but this is a very helpful session. If you do have any more questions, please drop me a line. I'm still here, and let me know what you think about our very fancy writing task one. You know what, guys? I honestly think that the lowest grade this is going to get is an 8. And if the examiner is feeling a little bit generous, then maybe it's going to get a higher score. A lot of people don't believe me when I say that because I have samples on my Facebook page that I post every once in a while. So if you're going to go and follow me on Facebook, you're going to be seeing a lot of different samples there. And I do get a lot of bashers sometimes telling me that, oh, is this enough for you to get a 9? Is this the 9 quality? I mean, it's too simple to be a 9. Why did you not use a certain big word or something? Why is there no idiomatic expression? I do get that a lot, but I have firsthand experience taking this examination, writing to this level only, and getting top scores in the test. Yeah, I'm proud to say that I got a band 9 in the writing component using the same strategies that I'm teaching you right now, writing almost the same quality of output that I'm presenting to you now. So I just don't understand the hate. It's just that people tend to think that for you to be superior in a particular exam, you have to be out of the ordinary. But I want to reassure everyone right here watching this live video feed right now that you are more than enough. Your skills are more than sufficient for you to get the right scores. And we just need to polish those skills, to harness those skills so that you will be able to produce something that will get you a good score. Because it's not like you have to be out like very extraordinary to get a good score in the test. You just have to know how to do it in the test and how to hit the markers in the test, the band score descriptors in the examination. Okay. All right. So there you go. Thank you. Sorry. Here are some questions. Carl has a question for writing task one. There are 4 types of questions like statics and 4 different types of processes for a total of 8 kinds. I find it overwhelming to review. How is the best way to approach this? Carlo, very good question. The best approach is to do them one at a time, because if you try to bite more than you can chew, can be very difficult. You have so much on your plate. So what you want to do is to master one and then work your way towards the succeeding types of questions. When I prepared for my real examination, I had to literally write for every single type of chart, line graphs all the way up to the processes. I started with the line graph and then went on to study the pie and then the bar graph, because unfortunately, and this is the saddest thing about IELTS writing task one academic, there's no one size fits all approach. There's no approach that will be for every type of illustration that you're going to get. So you have to prepare for every single type of question. Okay. And take it one step at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself with all types of exams, like doing all of them at the same time or doing all of them like in a single sitting will be very detrimental and very overwhelming. All right. Janina says, thank you so much for such a great demo. I'll definitely put your task one outlining techniques into practice. Thank you so much. Right. Or ignore the bashers, they're everywhere. Yeah, I know. So what's your FB? I would like to follow you. Brian Sioson, just search for me. All right. Facebook.com/Brian Sioson. Okay. Right. Enjoyable lesson. Thank you so much. Yesterday was my speaking test. I'm really worried about my interview. As a result, it becomes difficult for me to focus on my written test on 7. What should I do? Just let it go, my dear. You know what? You might actually think that you didn't do well, but most of the time in IELTS it can be very tricky because the aspects in which you think you didn't do well at are the ones where you get good scores. Who knows? Maybe you got the good score in the speaking examination and you get demotivated, and you know your confidence gets crushed. So when you take your written exams, you didn't do well, only to find out that you got a very good score in the speaking test. So let it go, forget about it, and just focus on your written exams. Who knows? Maybe you did well in the speaking test. It's just that sometimes you get so critical about your performance. You get so critical of yourself and you set really very high standards for yourself, but examiners might not have the same standards as you. Okay. So Mimi has a question. God bless you, Brian. You're pretty sharp as a knife. We'll always love how you explain. Thank you so much. Right. So Carlos is saying thank you as well. Anyone else from Facebook who would want to ask a question, you can drop me a line or two and give me a like or a heart or whatnot. Right. If you enjoyed this lesson and want me to come back for writing task 1 general training next time. All right. Okay, so there you go, guys. That's writing task 1. You can take a photo of the sample that I actually created for you guys. This is also perfect size for IELTS because you want to write around 170 to 220 words. This is just about the perfect size for your examination. And it's done within the correct amount of time. Okay, so once again, guys, this is Sir Brian from 9.09er IELTS Review and Tutorial Center. I hope you picked up a few tricks and tips here and there, and I shall be seeing you in one of my future sessions here at IFNG, and also when you enroll in our center at Niner Online Review, 9.09er IELTS Review and Tutorial Center. We have online lessons every day, Mondays to Sundays, 15 hours a day and 24 hours of sessions for coaching where you can have IELTS writing corrections, speaking simulations, and also access our recorded videos from your dashboard. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity, IFNG. I hope that I was able to uh, satisfy our audience and do justice to the task that you gave me. This is totally impromptu, guys, ha? Like, I didn't see the question beforehand. I was like very shocked that I had like a very complicated question, but you know, it's all worth it because our audience was able to learn. Okay, so hello, admin.
Hi, Sir Brian. Thank you, Sir
Yes.
Brian. But
Oh,
we will
thank you,
ask
din
Sir
po.
Irvin if he will still grace us your knowledge in terms of writing tasks. Okay. By the way,
Okay.
Arsha is asking a
Oh,
question.
sure.
No, there's no question, but she or he is saying, please let me know, do you do correction service for essays? I want you to correct my essays. Please let me know your charges.
Okay. So we have unlimited review here at Niner, and I'm one of the lecturers. I do the teaching and sometimes also coaching, and that's actually part of the package. So if you enroll in our center, then you might actually have an opportunity to see me as one of your lecturers and also be one of your coaches. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yes, guys. So our advice, thank you so much, Sir Brian. Well,
Thank you,
as
Dinko.
usual, we are always amazed, and I think everyone learned a lot for this session. So, if you, like what our advice to our members, in case for in writing, you need to have an IELTS expert to check or evaluate your writings because in IFMG we cannot do that. So we advise all of you to seek for advice for IELTS expert.
So you may enroll to Niner and you may contact them for their services. So again, Sir Brian, on behalf of IFNG Group and with the admins, we would like to thank you and hopefully see you again in our next session.
Thank
Right.
you,
So,
IFNG.
yeah.
See you
Thank
guys
you.
and watch the video again. Bye bye,
Bye.
guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.